Good afternoon, everyone. Today I will discuss about antiviral agents. Okay, antiviral agents. First of all, we should know about how virus enters into the cell. Okay, so first step is called virus will fuse with the envelope with the host for the entry. It will fuse with the cell. Okay, and it will penetrate into the cell and it will uncoat it. It will uncoat itself. Then it will undergo yearly protein synthesis where the structural enzymes are incorporated inside and it will synthesize the DNA or RNA depending upon the virus. And after that, finally, there will be functional protein synthesis will happen. There is a late protein synthesis where they will get the functional proteins. And finally, after becoming a mature virions, they will get packaged for the release of virus. Okay, so the entry is inhibited by the fusion inhibitors. So we have fusion inhibitors called enfuvirtide, we have maraviroc. These two drugs are used in HIV, and docasorol is used in herpes infections, and palivizumab are used in respiratory syncytial virus (RSV) virus. So these all these drugs are entry inhibitors. Okay, so after penetrating, it will undergo uncoating. The uncoating is inhibited by your influenza drugs like amantadine and imantadine. They are used in influenza A. And recently in coronavirus, we know that the chloroquine also causes uncoating of the virus by increasing the pH of your lysozymes. Okay, so the uncoating will not happen. So you can write chloroquine along with them. And early protein synthesis, it is inhibited by formiviricin. It is an anti-herpes drug also. And nucleic acid synthesis is inhibited by antimetabolites and RTI, that is reverse transcriptase inhibitors used in HIV, and antimetabolites like acyclovir, ganciclovir, they are used in herpes. And late protein synthesis like protease inhibitors are also used. Okay, protease inhibitors we are using in HIV infections. And coronavirus also they are using remdesivir. Okay, remdesivir. Okay, they are also a protease inhibitor. And after that it will undergo packaging for the release of virus. The packaging is inhibited by rifampicin and the release of virus is inhibited by neuraminidase inhibitors. Okay, neuraminidase inhibitors, we have oseltamivir and zanamivir. Both of these drugs are used for influenza A and B. Amantadine and rimantadine are used only for influenza A, and neuraminidase inhibitors oseltamivir and zanamivir are used for influenza A and B. So let's go to the steps. So the antiviral drugs can act at any step of these viral replications. So viral replication involves the fusion of the virus to the host cell membrane for the penetration inside the cell. Then the uncoating occurs and early proteins like DNA polymerase, structural proteins like DNA polymerase are synthesized. And then the nucleic acid synthesis will happen like DNA or RNA depending upon the virus. They are synthesized, and after that, late proteins called final functional proteins are synthesized and processed. So after packaging and assembly of the viral particles, they will release into the outside of the cell with the help of neuraminidase, and which will cause infection of other cells after going outside the cell. So the drugs can act at any of these steps to inhibit your viral replication. Now coming to, I'm going to discuss about anti-herpes drugs, and most of these drugs are anti-metabolites. Okay, and they will inhibit the viral DNA polymerase after bioactivation by the kinases. So coming to the acyclovir, it is an guanosine analog. It is active against both of your herpes simplex, HSV1 and HSV2. Okay, it is a guanosine analog. It will act against herpes simplex, HSV1 and 2. But acyclovir is not active against your CMV infection, that is cytomegalovirus infections. Only the ganciclovir is effective against your CMV retinitis. Okay, not your acyclovir. Acyclovir only for herpes HSV1 and 2, not for your CMV. And it is activated first by your virus-specific kinase. Okay, that's called thymidine kinase, and they will form acyclovir monophosphate. And this virus can develop resistance to the mutation of these kinase. Okay, so the acyclovir will be resistant in such cases. And after phosphorylation by your viral kinases, then it will get phosphorylation by your host kinases also. Then it will form acyclovir triphosphate. And after forming the acyclovir triphosphate, it will inhibit the DNA polymerase enzyme. So by competing with the GTP enzyme. So that's why they are called anti-metabolites. And they will get incorporated into your DNA and cause chain termination. So acyclovir is a guanosine analog. It's effective against HSV1 and 2. It is not active against your CMV infection. First, it is activated by the virus-specific kinase called thymidine kinase to form acyclovir monophosphate, and then by the host kinases to form acyclovir triphosphate. And this triphosphate will inhibit the DNA polymerase action by competing with the enzyme called GTP. And they will get incorporated into the DNA and they will cause chain termination and viral death. Herpes simplex virus will die. So acyclovir, how can we use? We can use as topically, we can use orally, and we can also use intravenously. It has very short half-life, so we should require multiple daily dosing. Okay, 6th hourly, 4th hourly, sometimes they are used. And mainly it is primarily excreted by your kidneys. And main indication for the acyclovir is mucocutaneous and genital herpes. It also used for your prophylaxis of the herpes infection, particularly in AIDS patient and immunocompromised patients. So acyclovir is used topically, orally, and intravenously. It has very short half-life. It is primarily excreted by your kidneys. Since it has short half-life, it requires multiple daily dosing. Indications are mucocutaneous and genital herpes, and it is used for your prophylaxis of herpes infection in AIDS and immunocompromised patients. And parenteral administration can cause side effects like nephrotoxicity and neurotoxicity. Okay, since it is excreted by kidney, it can cause nephrotoxicity and neurotoxicity. And as a principle, dose limiting toxicities. But one advantage is that it does not cause bone marrow suppression like your ganciclovir. Ganciclovir can cause bone marrow suppression. Okay, so parenteral administration will cause nephrotoxicity, neurotoxicity, double N, and it does not cause your bone marrow suppression. And mycophenolate mofetil is an immunosuppressant. Okay, it will potentiate your acyclovir activity, anti-herpes activity of your acyclovir by depleting your intracellular GTP, because acyclovir is competing with the GTP. Okay, by depleting the GTP, acyclovir has more action. So mycophenolate, it's an immunosuppressant. It will potentiate your acyclovir activity against herpes by depleting the intracellular GTP. And since it causes nephrotoxicity, you should maintain hydration while the patient is on acyclovir, because if you don't hydrate, the dehydration can increase your nephrotoxic potential. And coming to the valaciclovir, all the val starting with val is an oral compound. Valganciclovir is also oral compound. So valacyclovir has a long half-life. It is converted into the acyclovir by hepatic metabolism. So it can be given by your oral route. And famciclovir is also a product. It is get converted into active metabolite called penciclovir. All of these drugs act through similar mechanism like your acyclovir. So famciclovir is a product. It is converted into penciclovir. And coming to the ganciclovir, I have told you it is active against your CMV and HSV, but acyclovir is active against your only HSV 1 and 2, not CMV. So ganciclovir is active against your CMV and HSV. Same mechanism like your acyclovir, it inhibits your DNA polymerase. Like your first phosphorylation step is also virus specific. So it is activated by your virus specific kinase to form ganciclovir monophosphate, then by host kinases to form ganciclovir triphosphate. Then it will inhibit your DNA polymerase. So ganciclovir is used only intravenously. Okay, because and val the name anything start with val, it has very good oral absorption. So valganciclovir has good oral absorption. So ganciclovir is given intravenously and valganciclovir is given as oral absorption. Difference from acyclovir, it is effective against cytomegalovirus also, along with HSV. So the ganciclovir is drug of choice for your CMV infections, including your CMV retinitis. But the problem with this drug is it can cause myelosuppression. And myelosuppression is additive when you give other myelosuppressive drugs like zidovudine, that reverse transcriptase inhibitors, nucleoside reverse transcriptase like zidovudine. Zidovudine is a bone marrow suppression drug. So if you give ganciclovir along with zidovudine, it will cause more myelosuppression. Okay, so you should not give in such cases. And it can also cause neurotoxicity like headache to convulsions. Coming to the acyclovir will cause nephrotoxicity, but ganciclovir does not cause nephrotoxicity. Acyclovir will cause neurotoxicity, and ganciclovir will also cause neurotoxicity, that is headache to convulsions. But it can main side effect is myelosuppression, which will not happen in acyclovir. And coming to the cidofovir, different from acyclovir and ganciclovir is cidofovir is activated by your host cell kinases, not by your viral cell. Okay, not by your virus kinases, thymidine kinases. It is activated directly by your host cell kinases, and it is a broad spectrum antiviral agent. It is active against your herpes simplex, CMV. Along with it, it also active against adenovirus, papilloma, polyoma, pox. So three P's: papilloma, pox, polyoma, adeno, HSV, and CMV. And it has an diphosphate product which has prolonged T half. And main problem with this drug is nephrotoxicity. So we should give probenecid acid and IV saline, so that they can decrease your nephrotoxicity. And it also has ocular toxicity, uveitis and IIT can also another complication. Since the name starts with C, it can be a potential human carcinogen. Cidofovir is a carcinogen. Okay, so cidofovir, it is activated by your host cell kinases, not by your viral kinases. It is active against your HSV, CMV, adenovirus, papilloma, polyoma, pox. Diphosphate product as prolonged PFI. And problem is nephrotoxicity. You can decrease the nephrotoxicity by probenecid acid and IV saline. And other important toxicities are uveitis and iritis, ocular toxicities. Since its name starts with C, it is a potential human carcinogen. Coming to the foscarnet, it is not even antimetabolite. It does not require any intracellular activation by viral or host cell kinases. Okay, it can act directly. So it is used for your CME infections also. IV for given intravenously for your CME infections. But problem here is also nephrotoxicity. Along with that, it also cause hypomagnesemia, hypocalcemia, which can be increased if you give along with your pentamidine. Okay, pentamidine. Pentamidine is dihydrofolate reductase inhibitor. Okay, dihydrofolate reductase inhibitor, which can be used as prophylaxis and active treatment for your PCP pneumonia. Okay, PCP pneumonia in HIV patients, and it can also cause foscarnet can also cause your sinus problems. Okay, so for coming to the foscarnet, it is not an antimetabolite. It does not require any of your intracellular activation by viral or host cell kinases. It is mainly used for your CMV infections, particularly in IV route. And problem with here it is nephrotoxicity, and it can cause hypomagnesemia, hypocalcemia. It can be increased by your contaminant pentamidine, and it can also cause foscarnet can also cause your serious problems. So what are other drugs we are using herpes infections? We are using idoxuridine, we are using vidarabine, we are using trifluridine, we are using fomivirsan and docasenol. The docasenol is an alcohol which is found in the breast milk. Okay, the specialty of this drug. So all of these drugs can be used for herpes infection. So vidarabine, idoxuridine, trifluridine, fomivirsan, and docasenol. Fomivirsan is the first antisense oligonucleotide. Okay, like in mipomersen, we are using in lipid disorders. Okay, like the fomivirsan is also used in CME infections, CME retinitis, and the characteristic feature is it is given by the intravitreal route. Okay, resistant to other drugs. So if other drugs are resistant, like acyclovir, ganciclovir, foscarnet, cidofovir, if they are resistant, you can give fomivirsan by intravitreal route. But since we are giving in intravitreal route, it can cause vitritis and iritis, and it also causes changes in intraocular pressure. So it can cause problem in your eye. So fomivirsan is a first antisense oligonucleotide. It is active against your CMV retinitis infection. It is given by intravitreal route, resistant to other drugs. It can cause iritis, vitritis, and changes in intraocular pressure. Now coming to the idoxuridine, it is used topically for your keratoconjunctivitis by HSV. So keratoconjunctivitis in eye by herpes simplex can be taken care of by your idoxuridine. So docasenol, I told you, it is an alcohol present in your breast milk. It is used topically as a cream for herpes labialis in your mouth. Okay, so docasenol only indication herpes labialis in your mouth. So I told you in the first slide that it is also a fusion inhibitor. Okay, prevents the entry of the virus into the cell by inhibiting the fusion of the virus envelope with your host cell membrane. So docasenol, it is alcohol present in the breast milk. It is used as a cream for herpes labialis. It's a fusion inhibitor. Okay. Now coming to the anti-influenza drugs. So we have influenza A and influenza B. Okay. The drugs we have are amantadine, rimantadine, oseltamivir, and zoramivir. Amantadine and rimantadine, they prevent uncoating of the influenza A virus, but not the influenza B virus. Remember that one. So these drugs are active only against your influenza A, not active against your influenza B. So advantages of this drug are they will decrease the duration of the symptoms of your influenza if used prophylactically. And coming to the comparing the rimantadine and amantadine is longer acting than your amantadine since R is bigger than A. Okay, So amantadine is longer acting than your amantadine. The most adverse effects of these drugs are they can cause gastrointestinal symptoms and minor CNS side effects. So amantadine, they prevent uncoating on influenza A, not influenza B. They decrease the duration of the symptoms of influenza if they use prophylactically. Amantadine starts with R. R is more longer than A. So amantadine is longer acting than A. And most common adverse effects of these drugs are gastrointestinal symptoms and minor CNS side effects. Amantadine is also used effective for your Parkinsonism because it thought to release presynaptic release of the dopamine. Okay, it will increase the dopamine in the synaptic cleft in the stratum diagram. Okay, so that's why amantadine is also prescribed for your Parkinsonism. So two advantages of amantadine are influenza A and Parkinsonism. Now coming to the oseltamivir and zanamivir, they are the recent drugs used for the influenza virus because they target both influenza A and B. And amantadine and imantadine, they target only influenza A. So they are neuroamidase inhibitors. The neuroamidase inhibitors, they will inhibit the release of mature virions, okay, from the cell, from the infected cell. So they will prevent the virion release by causing clumping of your mature virions. So this is the mechanism of action. They are effective against your influenza A and influenza B. So oseltamivir, zanamivir, they are neuroamidase inhibitors. They prevent the virion release by clumping of your mature virions. And these drugs are effective for against influenza A and B. Oseltamivir is an oral drug, okay, and can cause nausea and vomiting. Zanamivir is administered by inhalational route. Since it is administered by inhalation route, the bronchospasm is the most important side effect of zanamivir. So oseltamivir starts with O, so it's an oral drug, can cause nausea and vomiting. Whereas zanamivir, it is administered only by inhalation route. By giving inhalation route, bronchospasm is your character side effect. The problem with oseltamivir and zanamivir, they have reported to cause neuropsychiatric side effects like suicidal tendency have been associated with oseltamivir and zanamivir. And these drugs can be used prophylactically to prevent influenza during epidemics. And oseltamivir is a drug of choice for your swine flu, H1N1, also for your bad flu, H5N1. Okay, H5N1 and H1N1. And piramavir is a newer drug which can be given intravenously. Okay, and lenacapavir starts with L, so it is a long acting. It is given in inhaled route. Okay, they are effective against your oseltamivir resistant strains. So oseltamivir is a drug of choice for your swine flu H1N1, bad flu H5N1. Piramavir is a new drug, is given intravenous route. And lenacapavir name starts with L, so it is a long acting drug. It can be given in inhaled route. And these drugs, the long acting drug, can be effective for your oseltamivir resistant strains. Now coming to your anti-hepatitis drugs, we have hepatitis B and C. So drugs active against hepatitis B and C are definitely interferon alpha. Okay, main drug is interferon alpha. Other drugs we have are lamivudine, ribavirin, entecavir, adifovir, and telbivudine. I will repeat it again: interferon alpha, lamivudine, ribavirin, entecavir, adifovir, telbivudine. So the goal of therapy for chronic hepatitis B virus is to only to suppress your HBV replication. But in case of HCV, we can make viral eradication. Okay, HPV is more dangerous than HCV. So HPV we can only suppress the infection, but in HCV we can eradicate the infection by giving these drugs. So coming to the mechanism of action of interferon alpha, it acts by the pathway called JAK state pathway. By JAK state pathway, what they will do, they will increase your antiviral proteins and also promote your formation of the natural killer cells. So it will infect the virus. Okay, natural killer cells are actually, they are naturally anti-cancer and antiviral. Okay, and it is used in chronic HBV infections, and also it is used with ribavirin in case of acute HCV infections, and prevents its progression to chronic disease. Okay. So it acts by your JAK state pathway to increase your antiviral proteins. It also promotes your formation of natural killer cells. Natural killer cells is naturally anti-cancer and antiviral, and it is used in chronic HBV infections. And if you want to use in acute HCV infections, you should give it along with ribavirin. So they prevent it progression to the chronic disease from acute to chronic in case of HCV. And coming to pegylated interferon alpha 2A and 2B, they are added with polyethylene glycol to increase the half-life. So that's why they will be superior to your conventional IFF alpha and 2B. And these pegylated interferon alpha are useful for your Verrucai vulgaris, skin infections like condyloma acuminata, like warts, Verrucai vulgaris, Kaposi sarcoma, hairy cell leukemia. So these conditions they are used. And for condyloma acuminata, we are also using topical immunomodulator called imiquimod. That is also effective against your condyloma acuminata. That's called warts. Coming to the lamivudine, it is an NRTI. nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors. It is used in both HIV infection and hepatitis B infections. And low dose of this drug can be used for alone or in combination with interferon alpha for your chronic HBV infection. Okay, chronic HBV infections, because this drug has longer intracellular half-life in HBV than HIV. That is the reason. So lamivudine is a nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitor. It is used in the treatment of HIV infections and also used for your chronic hepatitis B infection, 2 infections. So lower dose of these drugs can be used alone or in combination with interferon alpha for chronic HBV infections, because it has longer half-life, intracellular half-life in hepatitis B virus compared to HIV virus. Coming to the ribavirin, we told you it is most commonly used in your chronic HCV infections. It has wide antiviral spectrum and it is used along with interferon alpha in case of chronic HCV, hepatitis C virus infections. And although it offers no protection in case of respiratory syncytial virus, some authorities, they are still recommended use in immunocompromised children for this purpose. So it is also used in respiratory syncytial virus. And recently, monoclonal antibody approved for respiratory syncytial virus is palivizumab. Okay, palivizumab. Remember that point also. And the problem with ribavirin is it can cause your dose-dependent hemolytic anemia and can also human teratogen. So you should not give it in pregnancy. So it has wide antiviral spectrum. It is along with interferon alpha. It is used in chronic HCV infection. Although it affords no protection in your RSV, some authorities recommend using immunocompromised, especially in children. Problem with ribavirin is it causes dose-dependent hemolytic anemia. It is a human teratogen. And monoclonal antibody approved for RSV viruses, palivizumab. Okay, and drug of choice. What is the drug of choice for your chronic hepatitis B infection? Hepatitis B infection is always entecavir. Okay, entecavir. For example, if you are giving lamivudine resistant HBV and all the drugs resistant to HBV, then the drug of choice become entecavir. So directly you can give entecavir as the first choice. And for drug of choice for HCV, we know that for both acute and chronic is the same. So pegylated interferon alpha along with ribavirin. So ribavirin combined with interferon alpha is used for HCV, and HPV we are using entecavir. So entecavir is a new HBV viral DNA polymerase inhibitor. Okay, it is a DNA polymerase inhibitor of hepatitis B virus, and it is effective against your HBV resistant to lamivudine, and it has become the first line of choice for your chronic HBV infections. And it should be given in your empty stomach. It should not be given with food. So entecavir viral DNA polymerase inhibitor in HBV is effective against HBV resistant to lamivudine. It has become the first line of choice for your chronic HBV infection. It should be given in empty stomach. Adifovir, it is also an anti-metabolite, but the problem here is nephrotoxicity. It is a dose-limiting side effect. It can also cause your lactic acidosis, hepatomegaly, and steatosis. So adifovir is also used in HBV infection. It is an anti-metabolite. That's the mechanism of action, but it causes nephrotoxicity. It's a dose-limiting side effect. It can cause lactic acidosis, hepatomegaly, steatosis. Coming to the treatment, other newer drugs for hepatitis C virus. We know the drug of choice for hepatitis C virus always ribavirin plus interferon alpha. Other drugs now recently approved are called HCV protease inhibitors, NS3A4 inhibitors. We have RNA polymerase inhibitors like NS5A inhibitors, RNA polymerase inhibitors like NS5B inhibitors. So we have one protease inhibitors and two RNA polymerase inhibitors. So as HCV protease inhibitors is called NS3A4. And RNA polymerase, we have NS5A, NS5B inhibitors. So NS5B inhibitors, they have sofosbuvir and dasabuvir. So start with see the B here, buvir. So it's a B. Okay, NS5B, buvir. Sofosbuvir and dasabuvir. And NS5A inhibitors, you see the A here, asvir. So ledipasvir, elbasvir, ombetasvir, daglatasvir. Okay, asvir. So NS5A inhibitors, ledipasvir, elbasvir, ombetasvir, daglatasvir. And protease inhibitors, it starts with P. So see the P. Previr. Bosuprevir, tilaprevir, simiprevir, grazopevir, paratapevir. I will repeat it again. 5B, sofosbuvir, dasabuvir. Buvir, sofosbuvir, dasabuvir. NS5A, asvir. So ledipasvir, elbasvir, obitasvir, daclatasvir. Protease inhibitors P. So bosuprevir, tilaprevir, simprevir, grazopevir, and paratapevir. So these are the things today, and tomorrow we'll discuss about anti-HIV drugs. Okay. Thank you for your kind attention.